In order to be successful, you need to use the right tools. These will allow you to get the job done much faster. Think of how a car is made. All of those robots and machines working together, cutting and welding everything with the utmost precision. What if car manufacturers suddenly gave up the machines and have people do all the manual labor? Have people cut the metal into shape, weld it, paint it, assemble a whole car by hand. It would be a lengthy process. The cars wouldn't come out as good, and it would take forever. The same goes for web design. If you don't use the right code or image editors or the right hosting provider, the end result won't be as good as it can be. So, as a web designer, what tools do you need to make a website? Well, first of all, you need to plan your website. The page structure, the content you need in each page, the goal of that website. You need to know all of this stuff first. In this case, a simple pen and some paper will do just fine. Or you can use a Word document or your favorite note-taking application. Next, you need to create some sketches of how your website will look like. These are called wireframes. Again, you can take a pen and paper, but there are a few applications that will make your life easier. For example, UX Pin. This will allow you to create some really cool wireframes. And then there's Balsamiq Mockups, which have a desktop application and also an online application. And then there is Mockups, which is again a pretty cool application, and you can create wireframes really fast. You can add labels, links, and so on. All these elements to create really fast sketches of your future website. After the wireframes are done and you know what information to put in each page and also an approximate position of the elements in the page, it's time you open the image editor and do the actual design. Personally, I use Adobe Photoshop. I'm still using it and have been using it for as long as I can remember. And for many years, it has been the go-to application for web designers. When I first started using Photoshop, there was a really big price for the application. But for now, you can use it as a subscription service to Creative Cloud. You just pay a couple of bucks a month and you have access to all of these applications by Adobe. So, in my opinion, the pricing problem is gone. You can start using it right away. There are also some simpler alternatives like Pixelmator for OS. And this is pretty similar to Photoshop, but much simpler. After your design is complete, you need to start writing the code for it, meaning HTML and CSS, just like I showed you in the previous two lessons. Now, there are a bunch of code editors out there for every platform. Some of them are free, like Notepad++, which is for Windows, and some aren't. For macOS, I recommend using Coda 2 from Panic or Sublime Text 2. This is the editor that I'm currently using. These are both paid versions, although you can evaluate Sublime Text 2 indefinitely. For a beginner like you are, I'd recommend Coda 2 since it offers an easier to use interface and easy access to a whole repository of books that will just help you learn much faster. Whatever editor you choose, you'll be able to write HTML, CSS, PHP, or anything else you can think of. You also need a browser to test the code you're writing. And the way I work is I start writing the code and then I go back to the browser, refresh, see what I wrote. And by doing this, I can catch mistakes early on. Now, about browsers, you can use pretty much anything from Internet Explorer to Chrome or Firefox, but I suggest you use Chrome or Firefox since they have some tools that will help you debug the code you're writing. So, like I showed you in the previous lessons, in Chrome you can right-click and hit Inspect Element, and this will give you a debug tool that is really useful when something goes wrong. Now, once all the code is written and your website is ready to be published, you'll need a domain and a web server to put that website on. The domain is the unique address your site can be found at. For example, panic.com or www.envato.com. The web server is usually provided by a hosting company. You could host your site on a personal web server, but it's complicated. For a few bucks a month, you can get a professional service with customer support and everything. Now, most hosting companies also give you the choice of registering a domain. So you have everything you need in a single place. And you can find such a company by simply Googling web hosting. And you get a bunch of results. Personally, I would recommend Media Temple or DreamHost. I'm not saying these two are the very best, but they are really, really good. I have used them, so I know from experience. And that's it for the tools, basically. Now, in the exercise part, I'm going to walk you through each of these steps and build a simple website from the ground up. In the next lesson, I'll show you how to plan your site.